Blog Talk Radio.
The purple angel, oh purple angel, you're next to me. Purple angel, oh purple angel, you're next to me. You're next to me. You're next to me.
Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to Alzheimer Speaks Radio. I am the host and founder of the show, Lori LeBay, and I welcome you on this Tuesday morning. For those of you that don't know who Alzheimer Speaks is, we're an advocacy-based company providing multiple platforms to shift our dementia care culture from crisis to comfort around the world. We believe that by joining forces and sharing knowledge and having these everyday conversations about life with dementia, that we're going to be able to remove the stigmas and myths attached to memory loss and help people live with this disease with purpose and allow them to live fulfilled lives. Together, I know that we can help people have a better understanding of the true needs of this disease and to remove the fear and the isolation that so many people suffer with, not just those diagnosed, but their family and their friends as well. At our core, we believe collaboration is the only way we're going to win this battle. And I know it's working because of all your likes and clicks and shares that you have done, not only with Alzheimer Speaks Radio, but with our resource website, our YouTube channel, our blog, our dementia chats, which are webinars that we do twice a month where our experts actually have dementia. Because by you sharing all of those resources, you have allowed us to be recognized as the #1 influencer online for Alzheimer's, according to ShareCare, which is the largest health and wellness organization in the world, and Dr. Oz. And let me tell you, that would not have happened without each of you. So again, if you're listening today, if you wouldn't mind liking and sharing not only the radio page, but go to our website, alzheimerspeaks.com, and share that as well. Share it on your Facebook, your LinkedIn, your Google Circles, your email, whatever it is, because, again, we don't always know who in our circles are struggling with this disease. The more readily available information is for people, the easier it's going to be for them to tap in to grabbing it when they need it. So again, I really, really appreciate each of you in terms of your help there. I also want to let you know that here on Alzheimer Speaks, we want everyone's voice to be heard. So we would love it if you would call into the conversation. If you've got a comment or a question for our guests or myself at 714-364-4757. Again, that's 714-364-4757. Or you can always utilize the chat box as well. And I will be checking both routinely throughout the show. Now, before I introduce our guest today, and we've got a great conversation, we're going to be talking about creative connections in dementia care. I just want to give a shout out to a few organizations that I don't think everybody knows about. And the first is Alzheimer's Disease International. They are the organization of all Alzheimer's associations around the world. And not only there can you find where is the closest association to you, but you're going to find global insights and reports and data that is, I think, extremely helpful to be able to see what the world is doing as a whole. If you're in Minnesota like I am, or in New Mexico, our friends at Health Star Home Health are doing an amazing job, really dementia specific, have trained their staff as Alzheimer's whisperers, and are really doing some cool, innovative work in not only helping those diagnosed, but helping families deal with this disease as well. Now, many people have a holistic approach, and they're not quite sure where to go. And the Alzheimer's Research and Prevention Foundation is a great place to go. There you can find information on diet and exercise and meditation. Many are dealing with specific types of dementia. We mentioned the Alzheimer's Association already, but there's also Lewy body dementia and frontal temporal lobe are probably two of the most prominent out there that you hear about, and each of them have their own national organizations, the Lewy Body Dementia Association and then the Association for Frontal Temporal Degeneration. There you're going to be able to find more specifics for the symptoms that you're dealing with. And another issue that occurs a lot of times with dementia is speech. And people have a really hard time. Their speech may change. And so the National Aphasia Association can be a great resource. And aphasia is in dealing with my own mother in her 30-year journey with dementia, and so I just adore Alzheimer's Music Connect. They just have a wonderful assortment of music, and they have a patent pending on the way that they pull their technology together, which has been noted to help people listen and be kind of more attentive and more engaged up to 3 hours after listening to their music. And it's nothing that you're going to be able to tell any difference to. It's just beautiful, beautiful music. The Dementia Action Alliance is a new national group that you might want to get involved with, known as DAA. Again, Dementia Action Alliance, they are really all about person-centered care and upping the ante with that. Two last that I'm going to mention are Puzzle with Me and Jiminy Wicket. Jiminy Wicket is an adaptive croquet game, and Puzzle with Me is exactly what it sounds like. Jane Snyder developed a puzzle that is easier for people with dementia to utilize. Bigger pieces, fewer of them, and more adult appropriate. And, I just forgot two more I have to mention. The Purple Angel Project, if you have not heard about that, the Purple Angel Project is the new global symbol for dementia. You can go to our About page on alzheimersspeaks.com and just request to be part of that. Just click on the Purple Angel tab. It costs you no money and very little time. And we list also a bunch of different ways that you can utilize that to help raise awareness. The Alzheimer's Foundation of America is also another organization many people don't know about. It is the second largest association, and they just have some great resources for people living with dementia. So thank you for letting me do that little bit of housekeeping there. Let me go on and introduce our guest today. First, I'm going to introduce Reverend Katie Norris. She is a Unitarian Universalist community minister and co-founder with her father of the Carolyn L. Farrell Foundation for Brain Health. She received her certificate of training in the Montessori-based dementia programming, and she created a Montessori-based art program for people with dementia. She also speaks on topics of dementia and mental illness in order to just, raise awareness and end the stigma. She is the co-author of the book we're going to talk about today called Creative Connections in Dementia Care. Welcome, Reverend Katie. How are you doing?
I'm good, Lori. Thank you so much for inviting us today.
Well, appreciate you being here. Let me introduce your cohort here, and then We'll be off and running. Jennifer has been working for over 20 years to change the face of dementia care in hospitals, assisted living communities, nursing homes, and home care. She's an international speaker and a recognized speech-language pathologist known for her work in the areas of memory, swallowing, environmental interventions with people with dementia. She served as a principal investigator on applied research grants and has examined issues pertaining to dementia, hearing impairment, dining, long-term environment dysphagia. Her research and consulting is in the area of environmental modifications and has resulted in improved functioning for people with dementia. Jennifer offers interactive and educational presentations and coaching that help clients bridge that gap between current research findings and care needs of people with dementia. Jennifer is the co-author of 4 books: Creative Connections, which we're going to talk about today; I Care, which we actually had that book on with Carrie Mills a little while back; and then Environment and Communication Assessment Toolkit; and the Therapy Technique for Improving Memory, Space Retrieval. So thank you so much for joining us, Jennifer. How are you doing today?
I'm fine, thanks. It's great to be a part of this. I appreciate the opportunity to talk a little bit about what we do.
Well, it's wonderful to have you both on. Jennifer, I'm going to start with you. It's always just nice for our audience to know, have you been personally touched by dementia with family or friends?
I have been. I've worked in the field now for almost 25 years, so I specialize in working with people with dementia and have spent my entire career doing so. But I also have 2 family members that are living with the illness, so I certainly have some personal family experience, and it provides extra information than you have if you're only a professional. When you're a caregiver and you see a loved one changing as they live with the disease, it definitely gives you a new perspective.
I totally agree with that one. Totally agree with that one. I'm going to go ahead and just pull Katie in because I'd like to get her background too. Katie, can you tell our audience, have you been personally touched by the disease?
So when we talk about it a little bit later, you'll hear a little more, but my mom was diagnosed with Lewy body dementia almost 10 years ago, and she died in January. But I also grew up with her having an extreme fear of dementia because her mother had it. And so I think, when I was little, it was after her mother had died, and my mom had always said, I don't want dementia. It was very scary for her, and I think that was really, her living with it, but also her experience of it 36 years ago with her own mother was really kind of the impetus for us to find better ways to actually care for people with dementia.
Okay.
Oh, and I forgot. So my son and my husband and I lived with my parents for 2.5 years to help take care of Mom. So we have a lot of experience with her 24/7 in the house. And so that was, like Jennifer says, it makes a big difference when you're actually living with somebody and as their care partner.
Yeah, very much so. First, I want to say I'm so sorry for your loss. I lost my mom a year ago, February, so I know how difficult that is. And I appreciate your willingness to kind of take your knowledge publicly, too, for both of you. It's really important. It is very different living with it than just being a professional who knows the basic research, just because I think it comes into play the emotions of how do you deal with it? How do you survive and thrive on both parties' sides there? So, Katie, why don't we go ahead and start with you? And can you tell us what was your inspiration for the book? My guess is it was your mom, but why don't you go in a little bit deeper with that? What was your inspiration for creating creative connections in dementia care?
Well, for sure, yes, it definitely was Mom. When she was diagnosed, we didn't, of course, know how her illness would progress, and Lewy body dementia wasn't something we knew about before, so that also took a while. And in Lewy body dementia is dementia with Parkinson's symptoms, so that adds a whole nother aspect of when you're looking at activities, just because people can't move their hands in the same way, or may not be able to move their arms even. So, but when Mom got kind of to mid-stage dementia, this is when my husband and son and I were living in the house with them. She was having a hard time doing things she loved, like knitting and cooking and working around the kitchen. So my dad and I became concerned because we knew Mom's biggest fear was to be left to sit alone in front of a TV, unable to contribute to the world around her, with little contact with family and friends. So Dad and I started to look everywhere for activities or support groups for Mom, for people who were living at home with dementia, and there weren't any. If you're past your first year or two of diagnosis, there's really nothing for the actual person with dementia. There's lots of stuff for caregivers, which we call care partners, but nothing really for the person with dementia. So fortunately, Dementia Care research has progressed since the time of my grandmother, and Dad and I found out how important activities-based dementia care is. So my dad, Dr. Charlie Farrell, became trained in Time Slips, which is a really great storytelling program for people with dementia. And then we both got our certification in Montessori-based dementia care. And both of those things helped us not only give Mom a meaningful experience and enabled her to do things she loved again, like cooking or even setting the table, but it also helped us communicate with her better. And so Dad and I knew that there had to be other families like ours, so because 70% of people with dementia live at home. So that's why we started the Carolyn L. Farrell Foundation for Brain Health, so we could provide the art activities and things we were doing with Mom to other people in the community free of charge, because, you know, programs are really expensive. So we wanted to be able to do this for people. And so our activities just kind of progressed, and then we figured more people would need it, and that's why Jennifer and I wrote the book together.
Well, that's wonderful, and I love that, you know, you had mentioned that they're free, because people are so torn. This disease just rips families apart on so many different levels, but financial is a huge, huge piece. And so for them to be able to participate, you know, for free is huge. I know right now in our own memory cafe, we've got people who are looking for, you know, additional activities to be able to participate in, and they can't afford them. And it's just sad. It's really sad. So again, I thank you very much for doing that. You're helping a lot of people there. I'm going to go ahead and pull Jennifer in now. Jennifer, can you tell me? And what I'm going to do is I think I'll have you both live so that let's see if we have anything else that you want to add. You can go ahead and jump in. But Jennifer, for you, what are some of the strengths that preserve abilities that you know, for people with dementia? What, you know, how do you work with some of those strengths to really give people purpose?
Okay. Well, you know, when most people think of dementia, they automatically think of impaired memory. But memory is really a very complex system, and not all memory systems are equally impaired in Alzheimer's disease. Many people, you know, healthcare professionals and families alike, tend to focus on what the person with dementia has lost rather than what's left. Through research, we know that there's a type of memory called non-declarative or procedural memory that's relatively spared long through the course of Alzheimer's disease, and this is a great thing. We can use this system to help compensate for what's lost. So procedural memory is knowing how to do something or knowledge of skills. Once a skill's learned, it's recalled automatically, even if you have dementia. So this type of memory is considered a preserved ability in dementia. It involves motor and perceptual skills and habits such as brushing our teeth, dressing, making music or singing, reading, playing games, hobbies, but also creative arts, painting, dance, music. And so we use all of these very automatic, preserved skills in the Creative Connections program to help people be successful. We focus on everything that they have left rather than looking at what they're missing.
Well, and I think that that's wonderful. I truly believe in empowering people as well, which I can tell both of you feel strongly about. But I also think it's important for us to look at our commonalities instead of our differences. And I think when we start focusing on the losses, that's when we start focusing on the differences, and then we really disable people prematurely, I think, by doing that. And so I love that you are looking for those strengths. When people find those types of strengths, what should they do with them? I mean, how can they amp them up? Jennifer?
Well, one thing that's very helpful is to have a routine for the day that's very familiar. It's very expected for people with dementia, and filling their day with a routine or a schedule of all of those things that they do well. So really capitalizing on it, letting people repeat activities that they do well. So, for example, if someone still has good motor skills and is able to set the table or help wash the dishes or wash fruits and vegetables, then those are things that help give meaning and purpose and are part of our familiar routine that can be built into the daily schedule. So we're always giving them and helping them with things that they can do instead of putting pressure on them and asking them to do things that they can't. Okay.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. Katie, anything that you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, just that, when we work with care partners with Creative Connections, what we're trying to help people know is how to assess the preserved ability. So, for example, my mom loves to cook, and some people might assume that because she cooked her whole life and that was her main hobby, that maybe preserved ability-wise, she might, that might be something that she could still be able to do. And then when she's not able to cook, people just stop having her cook. And instead, what we try to teach people is to figure out how to guide someone through an activity that they used to do, how to break it down into steps, and also how to find out which parts are the preserved ability. Mom may not remember how to follow a recipe, but she probably remembers how to stir things and how to pour. And so working with her so that she has and can contribute to the parts of the hobby that she loved where she still can. And so that's what we try and do by using art as an example so that people can take that home.
Okay. Well, that makes a lot of sense. Jennifer, I'll put this one to you, and then I'll come back to Katie. Why did you decide to go through the Montessori method?
That's a great question. Most people when they think of Montessori, they think of children. And there's a lot of research on activities for people with dementia that discusses the use of the Montessori approach for educating children. The theories and principles that were developed by Dr. Maria Montessori focus on giving children the opportunity to explore and develop at their own personal level of ability and according to their own unique needs and interests. So she believes that also that teachers don't really teach. They guide children. They create an environment of order and calm and joy where learning can take place. And so we try and teach people to think of themselves as a guide, helping the person with dementia experience moments of creativity and opportunities for communication. So we use this Montessori philosophy to support people with dementia.
Okay. Katie, anything that you want to add regarding the Montessori method?
So, Dad and I picked Montessori because I had gone to Montessori from kindergarten through 8th grade, and then my son was in a Montessori school, and I had learning disabilities, and so for me it was natural. I think before we even heard about Montessori-based dementia care, I was taking Mom's recipes and breaking them down into steps and guiding her through them and, making things in different colors for her so she could tell what she was supposed to be working on, and making kind of self-correcting cooking recipes for her. And so for me, it made a lot of sense because Montessori, as Jennifer said, really always focuses on abilities and meeting the person where they are. And in Dementia Care, we focus so much on deficits that, people don't think there are abilities or that there is anywhere to engage. So we try to help people be as independent as possible. And people think that can't happen with dementia, but with the Montessori method it can. So we were really excited about that, and it's working really well.
Well, and I think that that's so true. You don't see what you don't look for. And so if you're not looking for the abilities, and if we're only looking for the deficits and what's changed or what's lost, that's all we're going to focus on. And I think it's important that people understand that the methods of Montessori, aren't just child specific. They're really good for everybody in terms of gaining more purpose and in living more fulfilled in terms of life. And so I think that that's great that you're bringing out some awareness on that. Jennifer, there are Montessori activities for people with dementia that are task related, like arranging flowers and matching tasks and things like that. Why did you guys kind of choose the arts?
Well, imagination and emotion are preserved abilities in dementia. So again, we're focusing on those preserved abilities. And so often people with dementia cannot use words to communicate, but art gives all of us a chance to express ourselves. And my mom is an artist, so I learned long ago that there are many ways that we can communicate our feelings and our thoughts through art. So this is the Creative Connections program really allows people to not only build on their preserved motor abilities, but their feelings and their emotions and their imagination that are preserved as well.
Okay. Because we're hearing so much more lately about, dementia and the arts. I mean, there's just so many programs from music and painting to movement and plays. I mean, it's just endless. I think it's absolutely wonderful to be able to open that door of creativity where there really is no right or wrong.
That's right.
To me, that's one of the biggest points of the arts is, whatever you do is okay because it's all interpretation, into what's beautiful or comfortable for the next person. And I think it puts it in focus not only for the person with dementia, but it puts it in to focus a little bit more for the rest of us around them to look at the beauty. I watched one of the videos that Katie did with a husband who had dementia and his wife, and I just thought it was just done so well for people to really see how to follow the instructions, how to be adaptive, and then being able to still create something together and have fun and come out. When I did stuff like that with my mom, anyways, not only did we create something in that moment, but it created a lasting memory for me in terms of that connection. So I thought that was just really, really well done. So and looking forward to looking at.
Hello?
Hi. Apparently the network failed there, so I so much apologize on that, and I had to call back in. Blog Talk is doing a new system here, and I'm not quite sure what happened, but I appreciate you guys are still with us here. I tried their new system, and apparently that network didn't work, so then I went back to my old one here. So I apologize.
That's okay. We're here.
Great.
Yeah.
So Katie, why don't we talk a little bit about what it was like for you to do that video with the artwork with the man with the dementia and his wife? How did that feel to be able to complete something like that, to be able to actually show people the techniques?
Well, I mean, the video was a lot of fun, and I think, when I watched it afterwards, when you're in the moment doing something, you think, oh, maybe I, didn't do it correctly or didn't show correctly how this works, and I think that the video really showed how to do an activity with someone with dementia. When we talk about creative connections, people, it's very hard for them to understand that someone with dementia can create a piece of art that in the end actually looks complicated. And I think a lot of that is because previously many of the programs for people with dementia don't really break down activities into steps or anything, or tell you how to provide an uncluttered environment. I mean, if the person has a whole bunch of materials in front of them, they're going to play with them. They might get agitated and confused, and people can't figure out why activities don't work with people with dementia, and then they assume they never will work. And so what I really liked about the video is it shows that we really only had what was needed right in front of us, and that when Bob didn't follow exactly what I had guided him to do, it didn't matter. You just go with it anyway and modify how you are guiding in order to help them complete the task even better the next time. And so I think that the video, I was really excited because it gave people an understanding of, yes, people with dementia can, follow what somebody else is doing and have a really great time. And the other thing I loved is we really try and ask the person how they're feeling before we do the art and afterwards. And he leaves like little smiley faces or frowns, and he picked that he was kind of feeling neutral, not happy. And at the end, he circled the happy face. And people always ask us, how do you know that this is working with somebody with dementia? We're not art therapists. We're not trying to cure dementia through art. And we're just trying to help them have a better quality of life. And you could see that with the video, and so I was really excited about that.
Yeah, I thought that was really neat, too, that you asked for the feeling, because he was kind of hesitant. I'm not quite so sure about all of this. And then I also thought it was really interesting because even though you had things very simple, on the table in front, you could still see sometimes he could follow the directions, sometimes not. And it was nice to be able to see your reaction where you just kind of go, okay. And, how you changed out the paper so it was easier to see, color-wise. And that, again, it really didn't matter. If the directions were followed exactly or not. It wasn't a critical piece, but it showed, how people can't always follow a really simple task, something that we think is really simple anyways, that we take for granted, and how it can be confused, and then really sitting back and going, okay, is this something to get angry about? Is this something to get upset about? Is this something that has to be corrected? And and most of the times, if it's artwork or not, it doesn't. But we feel like it does. And so I thought it was a really nice, gracious way to really be able to show that. And that was absolutely wonderful. Jennifer, did you have any other comments that you wanted to add in about the video?
I did. Thanks for asking. What I really liked about it is that his wife participated right along with the activity. So it's not that we are doing an activity to someone or that we're giving them directions that they have to follow. but that Katie and the care partner participated with the person, and that it was an activity that they could all do together. So it's an activity, the art projects are something that can be multi-generational. They can be done with friends or spouses, and people of all different abilities can participate together, and that's one thing that I really like about them.
Well, that's a good comment that you made about doing it together. The one thing that I hear all the time from couples primarily is that, we go to these things and they want us to do a task, and they have this activity, but typically it's the person, it's the care partner or the caregiver who completes the activity. It's not set up for the person with dementia. And so, I liked that this wasn't just a busy work thing. This was really engaging. I also liked that you had the couple separated, because to me that just showed the independence then in terms of the project itself, because sometimes I think when we're sitting together, we take over to try to make it look pretty or make it look better. And so just even that minor physical change, I think, allows a more openness sometimes for people, because we still, I think, as a whole, feel like we're being judged, and we want it to look good, and we want, and what looks good to us looks different to them. And so I think that that's kind of a simple technique, too, in terms of people remembering why are we doing this.
Yeah. It's about the experience and the process, and not about the product.
Yeah, and that's kind of backwards for how we live most of our lives. Usually it's kind of that end outcome, and so I think it's a nice lesson.
This is not about judgment. It's about acceptance.
Mhm. Yeah. Now, do you guys have a place where artwork is displayed at all when you have some of these activities in a group fashion, or?
Well, so far people can take their artwork home, but also we just had our first kind of big fundraiser last Saturday. So what we're trying to do is bring all the art to fundraisers, and then sell the art at the fundraiser so that we have the money to keep making more art for the next year. So eventually we would love to have a place where they're displayed, and we're looking into maybe different churches sometimes have rotating art shows, and so we're trying to coordinate with them and libraries and things to try and get the community to see the art that people can create. So that's one of our next projects.
Okay, wonderful. Well, that would be great, because you're seeing more of this type of art kind of on tour. You're hearing a lot more about it, so that would be absolutely wonderful to do. Have you ever given any thought? Because I hear people say this all the time, and I haven't seen a lot out there specifically, but trying to develop any of the artwork into cards at all, or just kind of gift cards?
Yeah, so what we just did was I take pictures of the art, and then I've gone to Vistaprint and had them print them out as note cards and little packets. And then we also, in the book, tell people how to cut up their larger artwork pieces, and that they can make them into cards, which also gives them another activity to do with the person with dementia at another time, to try to expand all their options.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay,
and then
cool.
Some of the art projects is the physical making of a note card that can either be given to another person for a holiday or special occasion, or a get well card, or can be used as a gift or sold in a packet. So we try and give people ideas for different uses of the materials that they create. It's nice to give art as a gift.
It's wonderful, absolutely wonderful. Katie, so how are you seeing how Creative Connections is improving lives for people with dementia and their care partners outside of the the world of art itself?
So in our weekly programs in Cleveland, Ohio, what we do is we always have the care partners there as a couple, because we want, we lead the activity, but we want them to also be able to do the activity and see how we lead it, which means the care partner of the person with dementia learns to break tasks down into steps, provide good contrast and lighting, and maintain a non-anxious presence, and meet the person with dementia where they are instead of correcting or instructing them. So then when a care partner couple is at home together and the person with dementia seems to be unable to do something, maybe like brush their teeth, then the care partner knows how to assess that situation and see what steps they need to break down the task into making it more accessible. So, for example, one day my mom just all of a sudden couldn't figure out how to turn the water on in the sink, and so she wasn't brushing her teeth or washing her hands, which she was really uncomfortable with. And so I could have just assumed she can't do it anymore, but, my mom had always been used to handles that are round and turn, and this was a different kind, like a lever. So I really just had to break down the steps and kind of do hand-over-hand guiding of how to lift the lever. We washed our hands together so she could watch me, and then I did hand-over-hand to help her turn it off. And after a while of doing that, then she was able to turn the water on and off and wash her hands by herself and everything for a very long time again. And so that's kind of what we've been seeing people are able to do at home with their loved ones,
very cool.
is translate it to the home environment. Yeah.
Wonderful. Jennifer, have you seen other applications of how this has applied for engaging others and enhancing their lives?
Well, when we practice things and repeat the same procedure, we get better at doing it. So the more that people have success with any of these motor tasks, the more the better they feel about themselves, but it gives them practice that applies to any kind of motor task throughout their daily life. So, for instance, we might look at reaching with a paintbrush into a pot of paint or into a cup of water as a simple task, but if somebody's beginning to have visual perceptual problems or range of motion difficulties, that might be something that is hard for them to do. So by giving them practice at doing it in a very safe environment in an art activity, they may be more likely or more able to practice that and other opportunities during their daily life. So it carries over. It makes a very nice transition into virtually any kind of situation. And also when people are participating in art and they're enjoying themselves and they feel good, they tend to be more relaxed. And when we're more relaxed, we're able to communicate better and express our feelings better. And I think that gives people confidence as well, because many people with dementia struggle on a daily basis to express themselves and make sense of what's going on. And they're used to failing at things. So when they have this opportunity to be successful, I think that boost in their self-confidence definitely carries on out of the art activity into their life.
I would imagine when there's success like that too, that the family member or the care partner just kind of beams in terms of celebrating that. I know with my mom, I was just on top of the world with stuff like that. It just made my day too. Do you guys experience that as well?
Definitely, giving them successes to celebrate. We all need more joy in our life and need to pay more attention to all of those little wonderful things that happen throughout our day. And caregiving is stressful, so if we can give these little moments of joy, that's important.
Mm-hmm.
Katie?
Yeah, go ahead, Katie.
Oh, well, yeah, I think that one of the things is, especially people usually it's people that start coming to our programs are more mid-stage, because they're really starting to see deficits in the home a lot, and they don't know what to do with somebody. And I think the first time they see that someone actually created something, because they've been, dementia care research has gone far, but getting that information out to the public has not. So people still function in that old idea that people with dementia can't do anything. And when they see that they can, there's just a relief, I think, and a happiness and an idea of this is going to be okay, and we can do this, and we can get through this together.
I think that's very, very true. Leading by example, being able to show that there's engagement, there's hope, there's fun. I think one of the biggest things that the disease taught me, which seems kind of backwards, but through my mom's disease, she taught me how to play again. Because as adults, we take life so seriously. And she really taught me to relish in the simplicity of life, and that it was okay to be there, that everything didn't have to be fast-paced and big and crazy, and really that the simple pleasures gave me the greatest joy. But as an adult, I kind of got stuck on that fast track and was looking for bigger and better. And I lost some of that because I was just moving too fast to even be able to see it, to even be able to spot it. And dementia makes us, it forces us to slow down because they can't take that kind of pace, they can't take that kind of stimulation. And it really, is frustrating as it can be originally for us to readjust to their new world. It's a huge gift. It's just a massive gift because you get. Anyways, for me, I found that there was so much more joy in my life on a simpler level because I was looking for smaller things. I was appreciating and filled with gratitude for little things that I don't want to say didn't matter, but I always thought I appreciated it, but I didn't appreciate it on the level I do now. It really honed in on what is important and what is joyful and what is a connection. And Katie, I don't know, did you go through any of that, with your mom or with your life at all?
Yeah, I think for us, especially when we were living there with our son, there was a lot of, all three of us learned, and we're about 36, my son is 11, and all of us live our life different now, and, you have different values, I think, than a lot of families our age, because we saw how Mom valued small things in life. And we also, I think, had a much deeper appreciation for people don't always act the same, but that doesn't mean there's something wrong with them or bad. And I think especially for our son, that helped him a lot. My mom had visual hallucinations with her dementia, and she would get really upset thinking there were bugs in her food. Now, that could have ended up being a huge argument, but, my son and I would look at her food and look at what does look like a bug in here, or is there a shadow because the fan is spinning? That was another thing that would, have my mom see things that weren't there. And so I think that it also just gave us an appreciation for the differences in people and how cool our brains are. That, she was seeing things in a different way than we were. It was pretty cool, actually. So I think it changed us a lot.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things we don't talk about much is kind of the gifts that are wrapped in this disease.
Yeah.
We don't think of illnesses as a gift, but, I always tell people, and I'll probably say this till I die, that my mom's 30-year journey with dementia is the biggest gift I'll ever receive.
Mm-hmm.
Living with dementia forces us to change our expectations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, that's for sure. Yeah. And you realize how out of whack some of your expectations are. you know.
That's right.
And that whole control, you know, we can say expectations or we can say control, because a lot of times that's really our end goal, and we don't even know it. You know, but when you are able to live more spontaneous and go with the flow, you have the opportunity to learn and listen and see different things that you never would have, by just letting go and letting things occur naturally, instead of trying to kind of keep them in that modified little box, you know, we call home and comfort. And you can find a lot of comfort, and a lot more control by letting go, which I found personally was really, you know, kind of backwards. I never thought I would have more control by letting go, but when you let go, you really do have more control, because you're not trying to hold on to so many balls in the air anymore, you know, and force them to land or go up when and where you want them to. And it brought me a lot more calmness into my life. And I wish I would have known way back then, you know, the methods of Montessori, and would have been able to have a book like yours with, you know, the creative connections to help us through this journey. But I wasn't aware of it at that time. Well, and needless to say, the book wasn't out then. But there's so many resources out there today that didn't exist, you know, when I was going through this with my own mother. Any other comments that you want to you know, tell our audience at all? I know one of the things that somebody had asked, shot me an email, and they did ask, and Katie, I'll throw this one out to you. They had asked, you know, how is the book laid out in terms of helping people? Can you talk a little bit about how the book is laid out and what they could expect?
Sure. So the book kind of has two halves. The first half is mostly text-based and talks about just basic concepts of dementia care and Montessori methods. So kind of what is dementia and what the environment can do. So we talk about the location of where you do things, how to guide and cue, and have even what kind of materials and supplies you need, and lighting, and how big things are, and what people can handle, you know, in their hands, and we talk about memory and why we do procedures that we repeat a lot because of supporting memory. And we talk a lot about communication in that beginning part, because, you know, the art for us is really a way to help people learn to communicate better. So if you're working with somebody and they don't do what you guided them to do, to just try and go with them and be with it. So we use a lot of examples in there as well. And we talk a lot about how to offer a choice. Like, people have a hard time getting dressed in the morning when you say, what do you want to wear? And then you might end up in an argument. You know, when you learn to present them in an art project with, would you like blue or yellow? Then that translates to home saying, would you like this yellow shirt or this blue shirt? And then the back of the book, 10 different recipes of all the art projects. And they are broken down step by step. So on one of them, the first step is to roll the brayer or a roller in the paint. That's the first step. Most people think that, you know, and people should be able to do that step without saying it's a step, but you actually really need to guide people. So we break it down a lot and talk about how to modify it if that's too big of a step for the person, that you would first demonstrate to them even just lifting up the roller in their hand, moving their hand towards the plate with the paint on it. And so we really try to help people learn the concepts so that they can do this in almost everything that they do. And it's full color in all the recipes in the back. It tells you how to set up everything. And so it's very much like you can just pick it up and use it. And there's also a huge supply list. So if you got all the supplies, you could do anything that's in the book. And there's also all the assessment tools too, like, you know, if you want to do it where you ask them how they're feeling beforehand. And because we wanted it to be for home use, but also Jennifer and I have created a training for care communities and home health agencies and pastoral care groups that if they want to take this into people's homes, they can. So we kind of put all of that together in the book to make it as accessible to many types of care partners as possible.
Oh, wonderful. Jennifer, is there anything that you want to add to that? Let me just get you live again here. We're getting a little static on your phone there.
Sure. I think Katie covered it, but one thing that I really like is that the art recipes take you through step by step, and they're perforated on heavy paper so they can be torn out of the book if you want and put in a stand or a frame on the table. And so every piece of the project is broken into steps. Everything has a photo with it, and it tells you exactly what you should demonstrate and how to ask questions and engage the person and communicate with the person through the whole activity. So it's failure-free for the care partner as well as for the person with dementia. And we have ideas about how to modify the activities, what to do with the art, how to organize the supplies so you could develop an art kit so that if you are perhaps an activity therapist or someone that goes into a variety of homes, you could have a kit with you that you take. This is also a program that can be used very easily in any long-term care community. So there's a lot of ways that you can apply this program.
Okay. Do you have, are you guys working on any other books related to dementia?
Katie and I are working on an online course about this program that will help especially therapists to use this program. And I am working on a book with some colleagues right now about memory.
Oh, wonderful. Well, that's great. Now, my understanding is that people can go to either of your websites and are able to get your information on the book and how they order it. And Katie's website is www.revkatie, and that's KATIE, Norris, NORRIS.com. And for Jennifer, you can go to www.brush, and that's BRUSH, development, DEVELOPMENT.com. And you can also reach either of these ladies, again, through their website or purchase a book, which I think is just would be fabulous. And don't forget to share this with others. I think the Creative Connections in Dementia Care is going to be a great book that's going to help so many, not only families, but professionals in terms of how to engage and move forward with things. I'll ask one last time if there's anything else that you've thought of that you'd like to add. Katie, I'll let you go first. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and sign off here.
Well, I think just two things. One thing about the book, and one of the reasons I love working with Jennifer is we seem to have a good combination of she's got lots and lots of solid research, but we both are very much into the inherent worth and dignity of every person, which is really missing in a lot of dementia care. So you read a lot throughout the book about that. It's technical yet kind of, spiritual at the same time in some ways, just about maintaining somebody's worth and dignity. And the other thing is that the YouTube video that you mentioned, if people go to YouTube and look up Carolyn L. Farrell Foundation, you can see the video of me working with Bob, and then also a video of his care partner and wife, Luann, talking about how the program has helped them. And those are two really cool videos that I hope people can watch.
Oh, great.
And also thank you so much for having us.
Oh, sure. And can they access those through your website at all, or do they need to go to YouTube to the Carolyn Farrell YouTube channel?
So right now there are links to the videos both on the Farrell Foundation website, which is FARRELL Foundation.com, And then also on my website, which you noted before, there's links to the videos there. So you can go there, or you can go to YouTube.
Okay, so they can go either way. Okay, sometimes just pointing people in different directions gets confusing, so I thought I would just ask that question in case they could pick them up there. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for taking time to be with us today, Katie. Jennifer, any last comments?
Just to remind everyone to always see the person, not to be looking for the dementia. And thank you for having us. I've enjoyed it, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk about our book.
Well, good. I'm glad you guys were here. I'm sorry for the technical difficulty. I'm not quite sure how that's going to turn out with things. So, again, we'll see how the recording goes. They had two different technologies working here at Blog Talk today. So, again, thank you so much. It was just a pleasure to have both of you with us. We had Reverend Katie Norris and Jennifer Brush with us, and we were talking about their new book, Creative Connections in Dementia Care. Great conversation. Thank you both ladies for being with us, and I'm sure we'll be in touch in the future. You'll have to keep me posted on your coming ventures. We'd love to know more about that. Before I sign off, I just want to highlight a couple of things. Our last show was with Mary Kay Baum, who is living with dementia, and it was a great show. If you haven't listened to it, we talked about the different senses and how her senses have changed and how that impacts her reaction in terms of living with dementia, and it was just fascinating conversation. So if you haven't listened to that one, I would go back and I highly recommend that you do. Next week on the 7th, we're going to have open mic, so, come with any questions or comments that you might have. Our last Dementia Chats was on the 24th, and we discussed loss. We discussed loss on multiple levels and, how people were dealing with that, how our experts and how their families deal with that. And we also had a discussion on the need for more volunteers to assist those with dementia out in the community, and how that seems to be a difficult thing to get coordinated. Our next Dementia Chats, which is where our experts, our expert panel actually are all living with dementia, will be on April 14th. And again, these are free to the public. It'll be the second and the fourth Tuesday of each month. We start at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 2 Central, 1 Mountain, and noon Pacific Time, 8 o'clock if you're over in London. And you can bring any questions or comments. We don't have an agenda. We just have a conversation and go where our community needs to go. All of those are also recorded, and so you can tap into those anytime. There were also a couple of notes that I wanted to make on the blog. You can see just a gorgeous article that I was blessed to be featured in, and the name of the article I just wrote is Feeling So Blessed. But it was about my work, and to me it's really about my mom's work, because I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing without her. But just a really beautiful article that was written. You can find Dementia Chats either on Facebook or via the blog. Same with the radio show. Everything is archived, and we do have our own radio page as well that'll lead you back to this page if you wander away. Again, I want to thank everybody for their time today. Give a shout out again to the Purple Angel Project. Again, I would highly recommend that you get involved if you haven't so far. It costs you no time and little money. Just go to alzheimersspeaks.com. Go to the About page and click on the Purple Angel tab. Don't forget, if you're looking for an Alzheimer's Association anywhere in the world, you can go to Alzheimer's Disease International and not only find who's closest to you, but get global information and data regarding what is going on in the world of dementia. If you are in either Minnesota or New Mexico, check out HealthStar Home Health. If you're looking for a holistic approach to dementia, look at Alzheimer's Research and Prevention Foundation, where you'll find information on diet, exercise, and meditation. And don't forget about the frontal temporal lobe and the Lewy body associations on the national level, which can give you a lot of great support if you're dealing with either of those two specifics, along with the National Aphasia Association. Puzzle With Me, Jiminy Wicket, and Alzheimer's Music Connect are all great engaging tools. And again, I thank you all so much for listening. Have a blessed week, and we'll talk to you next week. Bye now.
It's time to rethink, renew, and reimagine retirement. Hey everybody, Jared Sebesta here, host of Retire Repurposed. Now this podcast is about the non-financial parts of retirement, which many times can be even more challenging than the financial. We believe retirement is not the end, rather the beginning of what could be the most impactful, purposeful, and fulfilling season of a person's life. So don't retire, become repurposed. To listen now, search Retire Repurposed on your favorite podcast platform, Senior Resource, or Life Audio.